Hello and welcome to the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9 FM. I'm Paul Kretschmer. On today's broadcast, we're going to be speaking with a representative of an organization who's been working for a number of years now to make the world a tobacco-free place for children. Here's my guest for today's WIHS Journal.
My name is Matthew Myers. I'm the president of the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids.
Okay, and how long has the campaign been in existence then, sir?
The Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids has been in existence about 25 years. Early on in our existence, we actually worked closely with your former Attorney General and current Senator, Dick Blumenthal, when Connecticut was one of the early states to sue the tobacco industry.
Yes, that is correct. That's one pattern that attorneys general in Connecticut tend to have a lead on in many cases, is taking issues like that and oftentimes collaborating with other states for a critical mass in order to get the attention of an industry that they feel needs better regulation or needs to be corrected for some of the things they do. It's been such a long time since since the Surgeon General's report first came out. Luther Terry back in the 1960s, I believe it was, when they first started putting warning messages on tobacco. Where do we stand now in 2020 as far as warning people and attempting to encourage them to steer away from the use of tobacco products?
Well, we've really made extraordinary progress, and Connecticut's been a leader. When the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids opened our doors, over 36% of all high school kids in the United States smoke cigarettes. Today, that number is down to single digits, and in Connecticut, it's down to under 4%. So Connecticut has been a nationwide leader, but as much progress as we've made in reducing cigarette smoking, that progress is threatened by the introduction of e-cigarettes, particularly flavored e-cigarettes, which have captured the attention of so many of our kids. And it's not an accident. So while Connecticut ranks near the very best in reducing cigarette smoking, the reality is that around 25 to 27% of all kids in Connecticut are smoking e-cigarettes, and virtually all of them are smoking flavored e-cigarettes. That's one of the reasons why we think it's so important for states like Connecticut to act.
I've noticed on my way to work, and I take a 30-mile one-way trip to work every day from my home down to where I work, and I do see shops that are specializing in vaping. I don't know what, if anything else, they sell, but that seems to be a much more frequent occurrence, watching new ones pop up at the same time that we get news from the law enforcement in the state that stores are being prosecuted for selling tobacco to underage people.
Well, you're exactly right. In the last 5 years, we've seen an explosion in the growth of vape shops that sell e-cigarettes, and they have the worst record in selling to kids, as well as we see the introduction of highly flavored products in fruit flavor, mint, menthol, that appeal to kids. Over 82% of the kids who try these products try flavored products. And what's particularly disturbing is e-cigarettes these days come in such high doses of nicotine that far more kids who experiment with e-cigarettes become addicted than kids who experiment with cigarettes becoming addicted. It's one of the reasons why this really has a time sensitivity. Over the last 5 years, we've seen dramatic increase in the number of kids who use these products. If we don't reverse that trend very quickly, we'll pay for it in decades. And Connecticut has a real opportunity. You know, Connecticut is surrounded by states that have already acted. Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and New York have all already banned the sale of flavored e-cigarettes. Massachusetts has also banned the sale of menthol cigarettes. If Connecticut joined them, you are in a position to make an extraordinary difference very, very quickly.
Is there a limit to how much nicotine can be included in such a product, or is it wide open?
It's a great question. E-cigarette manufacturers have figured out how to deliver more nicotine to young people in a single product than cigarette manufacturers ever did. For example, a single Juul, which is the most popular e-cigarette, has as much nicotine as more than a pack of cigarettes. What the result is kids try these products thinking they're harmless because they have all these sweet flavors and not realizing they have nicotine. And before they know it, they're hooked. For each of the last 5 years, we have seen the percentage of kids who experiment with e-cigarettes going on to become addicted grow each year.
Is that one of the reasons why we are seeing stories of people who are relatively young developing lung diseases and things at a very rapid pace? Is it because there's so much more of the active product material in the product that it accelerates the effect that it has on the human body, sir?
Well, I was going to say, we're talking at a unique time in our history, because the CDC has found that individuals who smoke cigarettes, which are the most harmful products to your lungs and impact your immune system, are in fact at an increased risk of the most severe consequences of COVID. There's less evidence about e-cigarettes, but we know that e-cigarettes are harmful to your lungs, they're harmful to your immune system, and therefore there's a real concern as the age of people who are getting COVID gets younger and younger, that people who use e-cigarettes will be at greater risk of suffering severe lung damage. We already know the people who smoke regular cigarettes are. And it's also important, it's another critical time. Citizens, black and brown citizens, are dying from COVID at far higher rates. And what we also know is that the tobacco industry has been incredibly successful in marketing menthol cigarettes to those communities. So e-cigarettes aren't the only problem we're facing. There's no single product that contributes more to the death and disease of black and brown citizens who die from cigarettes than menthol cigarettes. It's the reason that Massachusetts tackled both. And it's the reason why I hope if Connecticut looks at this issue next year, as I hope they will, that it will tackle both.
It would have been more fortunate if the COVID-19 pandemic had not interrupted the legislative session here in Connecticut so early on. So we've had special sessions in the last several weeks just to tackle one or two items at a time that didn't get their hearing earlier in the year, unfortunately.
Well, that's exactly right. And this, the Connecticut legislature could have addressed this very problem. The governor introduced a proposal that would have banned the sale of flavored e-cigarettes. There were proposals out there to ban the sale of menthol cigarettes. Our hope at the beginning of the year, before the COVID crisis hit, was that the Connecticut legislature would tackle this problem. And Connecticut isn't alone in having been diverted. But it doesn't make the problem less important. What it means is, my hope is that when Connecticut reconvenes, hopefully in January, hopefully with more time to address the broad range of issues that Connecticut is facing, that it will tackle this problem then. The way these products have been marketed, with images of very healthy-looking, youthful, successful people, the flavors that have been added to them, the fruit, the candy, the mint, menthol, all disguise the fact that these products are not harmless. And they all deliver nicotine in a way that masks the harshness of nicotine. So many young people, including many young adults, 18 to 24-year-olds, use these products thinking they're cool because that's the way they've been portrayed. And before they know it, they can't quit. And before they know that, what we now know is that somebody who experiments and tries e-cigarettes is more likely to go on to use cigarettes. They potentially have a lifelong addiction.
My thanks once again to my guest today, Matt Myers, on behalf of the Tobacco Free Kids campaign. For further information, call us at 860-346-1049, 860-346-1049. The opinions expressed are those of the participants, not necessarily those of the staff or management of the station. I'm Paul Kretschmer on the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from WIHS.